Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What It Takes Radio. My name is Stan Houston, and on this Tuesday, it's time for 10 minutes of clarity. Let me ask you a question. What could you and Donald Trump and Emmylou Harris have in common that might be helpful to help you know what to do right now? And perhaps it just might be fun to know. Well, we're going to talk about that on What It Takes Radio. And we do welcome you. Let's get right to the story and see how fun it might be. Well, on this past Sunday, as I was looking at things coming across, I felt a little bit older. Well, I knew I was older. Well, I knew that happens. But then I discovered that obviously one of the singers of our youth, who I knew was a little bit younger than me, but not much. We're about the same stage and age. I really admired her singing, and I've admired it for years. Love some of the stuff she does. It was her 70th birthday. Emmylou Harris, cute little Emmylou Harris, is the big 7-0 on Sunday. And that just kind of struck me. Not only is she quite a singer, she's an old person singer right now. Then I thought more and more, and I read on a wonderful article that was put together by an admirer of hers, Scott Johnson, who writes for the classic Powerline blog, and he went on in literally a 3-page tribute and some excerpts of songs about Emmylou, and it was so good that I just had to talk about it, think about it, and go on. He said this, Emmylou has also become a compelling songwriter in her own right. She is certainly a highly literate lyricist. And her haunting, and I remember this now, Prayer in Open D conveys the desolation that she explores whenever she recalls a guy named Graham Parsons in her music. He was somebody she was very, very much working with, both in music, and it seems they had an incredibly wonderful relationship. But then in a tragic situation, at the age of 27, he died of a drug overdose. And it obviously affected her deeply and dearly for probably a good share of her life, and probably yet today. And in Prayer of Open D, here are the haunting lyrics. There's a valley of sorrow in my soul, where every night I hear the thunder roll, like the sound of a distant gun, over all the damage I have done. And the shadows filling up this land are the ones I built with my own hand. There is no comfort from the cold of this valley of sorrow in my soul. Wow. Talk about having the deep, 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 hard feelings. However, the song ends in a note of transcendence. She goes on to say, there's a highway rising from my dreams. Deep in the heart, I know it gleams, for I have seen it stretching wide, clear across to the other side. Beyond the river and the flood, and the valley where for so long I've stood, with the rock of ages in my bones, someday I know it will lead me home. You know, take the radio thing back and play that again. That is incredible. First of all, deep, deep despair. And then at least a sign of hope, a kind of a comeback that, after all of that, it might work out okay anyhow. And she went on, and continues to be, after many reinventions and, as some would say, comebacks, Emmylou Harris is finishing well, both in terms of her own personal life and persona, and she continues to do what she loves, and that is to sing and make and create and teach others beautiful music that in many cases does just that, touch the soul. And I'm very, very clear about that. One of the purposes of What It Takes Radio, as we've made very, very clear, is we are understanding that life and work and business in many cases is a soul effort. There is a spirit of transcendence, a spirit of goodness and godness that perhaps we have to cultivate and have some connection to if we really want to know what it takes. And she made a comeback. Now, one of the things that has always fascinated me is the idea of how do people do that? How do people come back? Now, some of you may know that I've talked about Donald Trump before, and I said I did the one thing that most people never did when he became a serious candidate. I literally went out and found out that he had written a number of books, and he had them out there. And they had his name on it, but he was also modest enough to realize, as he said, they were written with a writer who helped him. Now, I know a lot of those hot shots, and because my daughter has worked with them, who've written a book, and they've written it only in the sense that they said a few things and they had their name put on the cover, when actually a ghostwriter actually did the writing for them, and perhaps did all of the creating for them. Well, Trump at least didn't do that. He fully acknowledged that it may have been his ideas, but the words and the way it was put together were the result of a talented writer. But as I said, if you want to know what he thinks and what he believes, read his books, because they were all written not as a campaign. You know, a lot of these guys, they write books because they're going to run for president. Well, these were written a long time before. Now, one of the things that he wrote was called The Art of the Comeback. Now, his most famous book, which all of us should be aware of at least, and maybe read some excerpts, is The Art of the Deal, which very much fundamentally summarizes how he views things. And if you want to understand how he works, he believes that life is a deal, and you got to make good deals. But in the 1990s, when there was an incredible real estate crash in New York, Trump was in big trouble. He lost a ton of money and investment, and he was on the run. And he was able to put it together, and like Emmylou, he had a comeback, and he worked it hard, and he made a comeback. And of course, we now know at least not the rest of the story, but we know the present story. And he's gone from the art of the comeback to a real estate developer who was in big trouble and on the run and in danger of losing everything, to creating quite a multi-billion-dollar empire. And of course, now he's the President of the United States of America. Whether you like him, love him, hate him, despise him, you have to say the man made a comeback. Now, here's the point. All of us are going to have to live with a comeback. Someday in your life, you're going to get hit hard, and the question will be, can you come back? All of us need to think, no matter where we are in life, how would we put the things in our life together in such a way that if something really bad happened, do we have the resources, the resilience, the resistance, the toughness, the love, the compassion, whatever quality of the human experience is needed, that we could begin to make a comeback? Now, I'm in the midst of an attempted comeback. I know many people are. Emmylou Harris was in a comeback. Donald Trump was in a comeback. And you know what? You're probably going to be in the midst of a comeback now. Maybe soon. Maybe you've been. Maybe you're coming up. But you know what? It's probably going to happen. Well, there you have 10 minutes of clarity. One of the things that successful people do is they think about, they pray about, they wonder about, they think about, they contemplate. When something goes really wrong, how do I come back? There you go. Just some thoughts. Something I learned from Sunday's Coming Down, Coming Down Sunday, from Emmylou Harris in The Art of the Comeback, Donald Trump in The Art of the Comeback, some of my own experiences and stories, and I'd love to hear from you. Why don't you tell me what you've learned? What if we would put together a program of thoughts and sharing about how does one come back? How do you make a life and a business, a relational, spiritual comeback? What's your plans for the comeback? I'm Stan Houston. You're listening to 10 Minutes of Clarity on What It Takes Radio, and I thank you for your time. I thank you for literally the talent that you give to listening and responding, and I hope it is worthwhile for you. All the best and blessings, and we'll be back again with, on Thursday, 10 Minutes of Clarity on What It Takes Radio.